Welcome to Unleashed. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. Here are the guys.
Welcome to Unleashed. I'm James. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, stay up to date for all of our latest videos. Let's talk about the state of Star Wars at the moment. I think we are in the darkest, personally, I think we're in the darkest time of Star Wars that we've ever been having content to discuss. There was time when we had nothing to talk about, and I don't know if it's darker than that, but we're in this period now where Star Wars is, there's a Rey movie on hold. Taika Waititi, get out of here. There's nothing is sticking. And it still feels like 12 years into, well, I guess not 12 years, but definitely 5 since the last movie. It feels like they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, and nothing is sticking. They can't get anything to stick, and it's driving, I think, a lot of fans nuts. People are at their wits' end with Star Wars. Is it oversaturated? I think 100% it is. I don't think we're ever going to get away with that. Even if they trim it down to one show a year, that's still one show. One live action show a year, probably it's going to coincide with one movie a year. So I don't know about that. Mando and Grogu is slated to come out in May. They're saying the Premiere Magazine article with Daisy Ridley said that's the Rey movie is in May. I think it's Mando and Grogu. I think they should scrap the May date and just do December. Star Wars crushed it. They owned it in December. I know they have Avatar and I don't care. Star Wars was crushing it in that time frame. So you do Star Wars one year, Avatar the next year, and then you wait. You just wait and you put them all together like that. But right now they have a May release and a December release for Star Wars. And Star Wars right now is broken. It is definitely broken. Can they fix it? How can they fix it? What will they do? I've got a video here that I'm going to talk about how to fix Star Wars. How can Lucasfilm fix Star Wars? Before we get into and the thing is can you fix it? If you don't think it's broken, can you fix it? That's another problem issue altogether. Is it broken? Do fans think it's broken? Well, the issue there is some fans are absolutely despising every single thing that is taken out. Okay, so they're, you move that one, then you have the one that they'll love everything that comes out, and you remove them from the equation. And what do you've got? You've got people who aren't happy with what's going on, and you have people who are happy with what's going on. Nobody is loving it. No one is getting obsessed with it. They are moderately entertained with Star Wars, and they are moderately annoyed with it, but they'll maybe reluctantly watch the show, reluctantly do a YouTube video on it, reluctantly listen to a podcast on it. Thank you for that. The problem is you try to appease all the fans all at once, and all of a sudden you please nobody. Nobody is happy. Everyone's in this thought of, well, what's going on now? The Acolyte comes out. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Of course, that's how everything's going to be. It's not isolated to just Star Wars. Everything is, some are going to like it, some aren't. The problem is they've done this thing where they've created content where either you like it or you hate it, and no one can really be in the middle anymore. It's kind of this weird vacuum that they've established with Star Wars. I don't know how you get out of that. You have to find a way to, well, I think I have an idea of how to get out of that, to be honest. You have to find a way to get old fans back in and maintain and retain the new fans. I don't think you need to stress over getting new fans. I don't think your MO, I don't think your mindset going into any show, movie, video game, whatever, comic should be, we need to bring in a new fan base. You have a well-established fan base. You have a fan base that got you 4 out of 5 movies over $1 billion. Fans love Star Wars. They are here for Star Wars. What you've got to do is you have to please them. And I'm not saying the original trilogy fan. I'm not saying the prequel trilogy fan. I'm saying the fans of Star Wars. You have to bring it all together and then allow the new fans to come in like, oh, what's this? I'm interested in this. I'm intrigued in this. I'll give you an example right now. Dune was not something I was ever interested in. I've talked about this on the podcast. I had a Dune making of book when I was a kid. I had all these making of books for like Ghostbusters, Dune. What else? There was a lot of other ones. I just was obsessed with the making of movies, and I had this Dune one. I didn't know what Dune was. I never heard of Dune, but I looked at it and I was like, I'm not interested in this whatsoever. The first Dune movie came out. Everyone said it was great. I was like, got to give this movie a chance. Got 18 minutes into it. 18 minutes into it, I said, this is not for me. Turn it off. Walked away. Dune 2 comes out. Everyone says, this is a masterpiece. You got to watch Dune 2. It's a masterpiece. I'm like, I can't get through Dune 1. Now everyone's telling me this was so I decided to go back and rewatch Dune 1. Got through all the things that I wasn't liking about it. I was like, I didn't like certain aspects of it. Eventually I became a fan of Dune. And I was like, this is phenomenal. And I became obsessed with the first movie, and I really enjoyed the second movie. I haven't watched it as much. I haven't had a chance to, but I was like, oh, I'm all in on this. What? And I started I haven't read the books, but I started like reading articles and stories about this and that and where it goes and whatnot. And I was like, this is exciting. It's cool stuff. It got me in. It hooked me in by the quality of what it was. And that's what I'm saying. Star Wars, don't worry about changing who you are. You know, you don't change who you are to please the girl, as they say, right? You've got to maintain what you are, your core values and whatnot, and you stick with that. And people will the people that want to like it are going to come in. You're going to generate new fans by being true to yourself, as opposed to changing who you are. And I said this on another video: when you change who you are, now you've pissed off the people who loved you before, and the new people that come in that like this new iteration of you, they're going to be like, they're going to watch the old stuff, and then if you revert back to any of how it was, they're going to say, well, that's not what I like about Star Wars. So now you've pushed the old fans away, and you're also pushing the new fans away. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But I guess Star Wars is a cake. I just want to eat the cake. Let me eat the cake. Let's go into a few reasons why, a few instances of how I think Disney can fix Star Wars. First, you got to honor the original trilogy. Disney could better integrate beloved legacy characters like Luke, Leia, Chewie, and Han by respecting their character arcs. While they did appear in the sequels, many fans felt they were mishandled. A series or special that expands on their post-Return of the Jedi lives, perhaps in an animated or limited live-action format, could bridge the gap between the original films and newer projects. I'm more on the side of live action. I've said this before. I believe Luke needs to be fleshed out. Luke, of all of them, needs to be fleshed out. But I thought they overvalued the legacy characters in the sequels within the universe itself. Within the universe, I felt they were overvalued. Deep storytelling for pre-established lore. Focus on the rich lore established in the extended universe, aka legends. Some of these stories can be adapted or modernized to show the strength and complexity of the Star Wars universe before Disney's involvement. This one's important. Make a cohesive, thoughtful narrative. Plan long-term storytelling. One of the biggest criticisms of the sequel trilogy was its lack of narrative consistency. Creating a comprehensive roadmap similar to what Marvel does with the MCU would give Star Wars a sense of direction. Fans want meaningful, interconnected stories. The stories can connect all they want, but if there's no meaning behind it, no one is going to care. The original trilogy succeeded because of its iconic characters. Disney should focus on building multi-dimensional characters rather than relying on spectacle. They were on their way, I would argue, with The Force Awakens. Finn and Rey in that movie were great. And obviously Kylo Ren, Ben Solo. And then The Last Jedi really focused mostly on the Reylo stuff and Rey and Ben. And we kind of lost Finn and Finn and Poe. Those characters, they never quite recovered from that. And then, of course, The Rise of Skywalker just did whatever it did with Rey and Kylo, and here we are. They got a balance between nostalgia and innovation. They have to maintain thematic consistency. Older fans connect with the original themes of heroism, redemption, and personal sacrifice. Any new story should honor these themes while also finding fresh ways to explore them. Theme is something I think that the new era has been lacking a lot of for all of like their flaws. I think that's one that I think sometimes gets overlooked by fans when they complain about things. This is the one they're actually referring to. Introduce fresh characters who can resonate with a modern audience without abandoning the heart of Star Wars. Shows like The Mandalorian proved it's possible to introduce new characters while maintaining fan interest in the original universe. This one they're going to do with the Mando and Grogu movie, but they've got to continue this for this foreseeable future. Focus on smaller, gritty stories. Disney Plus series like The Mandalorian and Andor have been well received because they focus on smaller, more intimate stories. They also offer the opportunity to explore different eras of the galaxy, like the post-Empire period or the origins of the Rebellion. This appeals to both hardcore fans and newcomers. They need to explore the gray areas of the Force, delve deeper into complex, morally ambiguous characters like Ahsoka or Dark Jedi. This adds nuance to the idea of good versus evil. I think the standout character in Ahsoka was Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. Dark Jedi, not quite Sith, not quite Jedi, not quite anything. They are what they are. Orange lightsabers. Avoid over-reliance on fan service. While pleasing fans is important, relying too much on nostalgia or trying to cater to every demand leads to unfocused storytelling. This has been very evident in the way they've been forcing the spin-off shows. Iger said it a few years ago that they're going to focus on spin-off shows, bring characters in for that, and I think this plays a part of that. Expand the audience through new mediums. Video games and animated series. Star Wars has succeeded in expanding in its fan base through hit games like Jedi Fallen Order and animated series like The Clone Wars. Continue investing in these areas to bring in younger fans who may not be as attached to the films. And this is where you do a Clone Wars show post Return of the Jedi. You do a show that bridges all of the gaps between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, and then they can live in their old T timeline, but bring us to where we are. Do what the Clone Wars did so effective. And also, there haven't been enough video games. There just have not been enough Star Wars video games in the modern era. Reinforce the mythical and philosophical aspects. Explore the Jedi and the Sith philosophy. Beyond action, Star Wars has always been about deeper themes like the struggle between light and dark, personal growth, and destiny. Projects that delve into these aspects more thoughtfully would resonate with older fans who appreciate the mythological depth. I think a big issue is when I think back even to 9 years ago, 10 years ago, the pre-release of The Force Awakens. Remember they had Force Friday? Force Friday was a big event where they had toys, books, comics, all these things coming out to coincide with the December release of the movie. And the Force Friday was in like September. That gave you 3-4 months to lead into the movie, to get your hype level up for the movie. They're like, check this out. They had Journey to the Force Awakens. I think we had Journey to the Last Jedi. I don't know if they did Rise of Skywalker, but we started to do it. Toys would come out that would tie directly in to the movie. And Star Wars, I don't know about you, I was born in 81. The toys got me into the franchise. I'm 100% convinced of it, that I was playing with toys before I ever saw a movie. My memory does not go far enough back to recall either one of those, but I'm guessing. I know I had all these toys, every toy you could think of I had. I had the Falcon, Jabba the Hutt, and you would just play with them and you would have a good time, not understanding or knowing what it was. Then obviously the dark times, you had books, but The Force Awakens came out. They had all these tie-in books that I talked about on the live stream. All these tie-in books about Finn, Poe, a Rey journal, these Rey books, all these things. They didn't give away too much information, but just enough. You just had enough nuggets. You're like, who is like the Snoke storylines? But you have all these tie-ins and people get excited for it. It builds to it. And we haven't had that in forever. I don't think we got it for Rise of Skywalker. We didn't get it for Mando. And Mando was exciting. People loved Mando, but we didn't get that. Why didn't we get that for Mando? There's things that they can do to hype us and create these tie-in books, these tie-in novels. Not for me. I'm not going to read the YA novel about Poe Dameron saving some family on some planet never heard of. But a kid is. But a kid's going to read that in elementary school, and they're going to read that, and they'll be like, oh, I really want to see this. And then maybe they go to the store and like, oh, I want that toy of Poe Dameron, or however it works. I don't remember. I just like toys. But we're not getting that anymore. And that to me is a huge issue and a huge reason why people aren't so invested in Star Wars. If The Acolyte came out, The Acolyte wasn't my favorite, but if it came out and it had a lot of hype in front of it, tie-in books, some action figures, some this and that, maybe more people are excited to get into it. It still debuted only at like number 7 on the top 10. That's not massive for Star Wars. Definitely not massive. You gotta you're overproducing the visual stuff, which is great. That's what Star Wars thrives on. Obviously, is movies and TV and stuff. But you got to give us a supplementary material as well for us to dive in, to be invested. Like I said a little bit a while ago, like Snoke. The Snoke theories were phenomenal after The Force Awakens. Going into The Force Awakens and after The Force Awakens, we got to do all these Snoke conversation, theory videos, theory discussions. Who is Snoke? What is Snoke? Oh, he's been around for this long. He's deformed. Why is he this and that? And we got to talk about all these aspects of it. And he was a mystery, and they obviously caused him to be a mystery, but he was an intriguing character. Maybe not so much in the movies, but he was an intriguing character in our minds. We haven't really got that. Can you imagine if they would have pushed the Stranger on us a little bit more beforehand? Who was the Stranger? Oh man, if they would have dove a little bit deeper in that, if they would have given us more material beforehand to discuss things like that, we would have been a lot more excited. So I think tie-in, the lack of tie-in material, tie-in books, tie-in toys, tie-in Happy Meals, all these things. Before, when The Force Awakens came out, people said, "Oh man, Star Wars is everywhere. It's too much, too much." I disagree. I think if you want it to be big, it's got to be in the forefront of our minds, and people have to be invested. And right now, they're not. Give us tie-in material. People are eagerly awaiting it. The Batman came out 2 years ago. There was a freaking prequel tie-in book that came out with it. I read it. I was like, this is, and it didn't give you any information, just kind of added little tiny bits of details here and there. And I said, remember Catalyst for Rogue One? Catalyst for Rogue One, phenomenal book, tied into the movie, made the movie stronger if you read the book. If you didn't read the book, didn't affect it. But it's things like that, generate more interest going into a project. The other thing that they have to deal with is Luke Skywalker. They kind of, I think, look, Luke Skywalker is very uneven. You definitely need to see where he goes to get to where he's going. And I think the Mandalorian season 2 finale really kind of brought a lot of people back to like, oh, there's my Luke, or the Luke of my childhood, I should say. They were like, this is what I wanted to see in the sequels. And you don't get that. And I think I'm, I've had discussions on, I think it's a little bit lazy why we got it the way we got it and whatnot. But I think ultimately the Luke in the sequels could work for not everyone, but I think it could still work. He could still work for a lot of the people that weren't invested in that character. I think he could still work for people that didn't like that version of Luke if you take us on the journey to get to that Luke. But ultimately, you got to redeem Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker's portrayal in The Last Jedi was divisive, to say the least, among Star Wars fans, because it sharply deviated from the heroic and optimistic figure fans had come to know. In the original trilogy, Luke was depicted as a symbol of hope and resilience, overcoming darkness and defeating the Empire without compromising his ideals. However, The Last Jedi presented an older, disillusioned Luke who had given up on the Jedi Order and exiled himself after a perceived failure in training Ben Solo. That's Kylo Ren. Many fans were upset by his portrayal, feeling that it undermined Luke's legacy as a beacon of hope. His reluctance to help the Resistance, his harsh treatment of Rey, and his ultimate decision to die in isolation contrasted with the hopeful hero many expected to return. For some, this character arc reflected a natural progression for a person who had faced immense trauma and responsibility, but for others, it was a betrayal of the character's core identity. This division reflected broader debates within fandoms about creative freedom versus staying true to a beloved character's established traits. Disney could redeem Luke's character and win back fans by focusing on a few key aspects. Acknowledge the dude's legacy. While The Last Jedi intended to subvert expectations, many fans feel that Luke's heroic nature was lost. Disney, Lucasfilm, could show a more balanced portrayal, perhaps through flashbacks or additional narratives, that highlight his earlier heroism, wisdom, and connection to the Force, especially in the time between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. This would allow fans to see the full picture of Luke's growth. Exploring his role in the Force. Luke's death as a Force ghost opens up opportunities for redemption. In future films or series, Luke could take a more active role in guiding new Jedi or aiding in a galactic struggle. His wisdom, even in death, could be reframed to show a return to the hopeful character fans love, while incorporating the lessons he learned from failure. New Jedi Legacy. A possible avenue for redemption lies in Rey's New Jedi Order, the movie that will never see the light of day. If Luke's teachings and philosophy influenced Rey's leadership, it would show that despite his mistakes, his legacy lives on in a meaningful and positive way. Redeeming Luke, tie-ins, and just don't try to please the people out there that don't like your source. If you don't like Star Wars, you're not going to like Star Wars. And that's just it. You don't have to worry about bringing in new fans. They're going to come. New fans will come if you produce quality programming, movies, and whatnot. We're going to see what the Mando brings. The Rey movie, don't know what's going to go on with that. If you haven't seen it, check out my video over at Digital Charcuterie. Talked about what the possible new direction of Star Wars can be. And I think they could take it on a new direction. I really do. I think you can leave the sequels where they are and take Star Wars forward in a fun, thrilling way that will please a lot of fans. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks everybody for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.